Rosalyn Brand, September 25th. I was born in 1949. I grew up in Winfield, Iowa, and in Wapello. We moved to Wapello when I was in 5th grade. And it was just small town, fun living. My dad served in World War II in the Navy, and I had an uncle in the Korean War in the Army. My brother's been in the Navy, but he's 6 years younger than me. It was in 1974, and the Army Reserves were looking for more females in the service. And Dean had joined, my husband, had joined in 1971 because he didn't want to worry about the draft, and we wanted to get married. So he joined the reserves and went to basic training in AIT, and we got married. And it was a general supply company, and they were warehouse. They had warehouse, learned to do pick and choose and ship things. The unit had what's called now, it was called a hot mission, which hands-on training. So we had office supplies in the armory, and units in Iowa and Minnesota would order through them, and they would pick them, ship them out, keep inventory, and just do like if you had a big warehouse at an army base. So he came home and told me about it, and I just joke with him now because he got a weekend pass as such. He got paid for a weekend but didn't have to go because he recruited somebody. Don't know why we decided that would be a good thing to do. We had one child at the time. I went down, passed the ASVAD and the physical test, and got enlisted and down at MEPS in Fort Des Moines, and scheduled for going to basic training. It was what was called a CAS program, which is Civilian Acquired Skills Program. You came in with a civilian skill that the Army could use, and you came in as an E3. And I had 2 weeks of basic training, and then the unit was to provide further training for us. I found out I was pregnant just before I went, but I went on ahead because I thought 2 weeks, there's not much that can, much activity and stuff that we were supposed to be doing that would interfere. I had no problems with my first pregnancy, so I wasn't concerned about this one. But because I said I knew I was, the captain pushed the paperwork through quickly, because if I'd kept my mouth quiet, gone and been tested and such, by the time the paperwork done, I would have been done with basic training. I called my unit, and they said, come home, and we'll send you after you had the baby. So I went back and went to drill, and the next year went down when my son was 4 months old. One of my drill sergeants was from Mount Union, Iowa, which is southeast Iowa, where I grew up. And we had visited when I was down there that first week. And when I got back, I walked into the barracks, and the first thing I hear is, what did you have? So I had to get out my pictures and show her the baby and talk with her. And the 2 weeks was basically an introduction to the military. You didn't have a lot of experience. We did PT, we marched, we went to classes, we went to the firing range, and they showed this M16A1 and said, this is how you fire it, and showed us how that was done. They showed us a law, showed us how it was fired. So it was just a demonstration. There was no hands-on for us at all. We did have an overnight. If you had guard duty, they gave you a rubber rifle to use, which of course you wouldn't be, And I guess one of the things that I remember from that is loading up the sleeping bags afterwards into a truck, and I got that job, and I just slung them in and kind of joked and said, yeah, I knew how to throw bales of hay, which I've never thrown a bale of hay in my life, but I've watched it done, so I knew the method. And had a graduation ceremony, came home, and started going back to drill again. And annual training, and that's where then when we go to the firing range, that's when I learned to fire the rifle. And one thing might be of interest is the fact that there was no other women in the detachment that I was in, or I actually started out in the ammo battalion because the detachment didn't have any clerk typist slots. So I started out in an ammo battalion headquarters that was co-located with the General Supply Unit detachment in Ames at the Armory. And it took me the longest time to realize, because when the Women's Army Corps was no more, and it made more sense than when you hear the all one army, it's the men and women together. It just was interesting to see the progression there, and when they say, well, why are we having two separate things? So since I already knew, because I'd been in and out of the building and stuff before I joined, it's a friendly atmosphere. They accepted me. I could do my job that they gave me to do. So we had a hands-on training mission, which was called HOTS. But we had a setup, we had shelves, we had supplies, office supplies and janitorial supplies that we had to keep the record of, inventory, how much you have on hand. There would be orders sent in, we'd fill those orders, and then somebody would mark down on the inventory sheets so that we knew what we had and what we needed to reorder and keep on hand, and it would get shipped out after the weekend.
You already told me this, but were you stationed overseas?
In the Guard, we went to Reforger. It was in January of 1986. We went with the ambulance company. We were close to the Czechoslovakian border, so when we were traveling around, we had to make sure we didn't make any wrong turns, because it might be harder to get back, because there was still the East and West Germany. I don't think in particular, but it just, when we first got there, we arrived at night, and to have a feel for where you were at, you didn't get that because we were on a bus in the dark driving down the roads and stuff. In Germany, as I'm sure a lot of European countries, they don't have in their villages and stuff, you don't see the side streets because the buildings are basically on the street. There's not that right away, you think about our towns, you have the sidewalk and then your buildings are set back a little ways and stuff, so you can definitely tell when you're coming up to an intersection. And so, in just driving around with just the two of us and a map, it was kind of interesting because you're not fully oriented to directions because you're across the ocean and you're in and you landed in, like I said, in the dark. Yeah, the sun comes up in the east always, but that doesn't always feel like it's east as to knowing which directions you're going and such. But fortunately, we never had any trouble, and we were able to get where we needed to be. So if we would damage any German property, it would cost a lot of money. Like if you hit an animal, that animal and any future animals that might want to procreate, or if you hit a chicken, the eggs that it could have produced and the little chickens it could have produced. Anyway, so we didn't really do much, but we got to be tourists in Army uniform with an ambulance to drive around because we had the fuel, we had the ambulance, and we had the time. Well, we did go up to a active duty Army unit. They needed some people, and they weren't doing much of anything either. They were at a convent that they stayed in the older part of it. And Dean had been talking to the platoon sergeant in the clinic, and when I came down, he said, "Would you like to start an IV?" We had taken medic class, so we had the title of medic, just the lowest level, but they didn't have the money to have us do the actual training, so we just had the book learning. And this platoon sergeant had been in Vietnam, and what he would do with any medic coming into his unit was have them start an IV on him to make sure they could do that, because if he needed it, he wanted to make sure that any of his medics could take care of him. And so he talked me through inserting an IV needle into his vein, which is kind of scary the first time you do that, but it was I accomplished it, and we took it out, and he was fine. So it was kind of interesting talking with the active duty soldiers and getting to know some of them. And then we went back down to our unit, and it was time to turn in the ambulances, which they had to clean them all up and load them onto a train. And the train just had our unit on it. And we went along the Rhine to northern part of Germany because we were in the southern part. And it was kind of fun because somebody'd say, castle on the left, and everybody go to the left windows and look out, and then castle on the right, and we go over to the right side. And so it was our chance to tour a little bit of Germany. We were up near Holland, and we went over into Holland to visit a village there. And then we went down to Cologne, Germany, and got to go through the cathedral. There was a group of high school or school-age kids touring the cathedral at the same time, and I didn't want to go clear to the top of the one tower that you could. And I stayed down, and this gal stayed down. She didn't like heights, and she was one of the school kids. And we could converse. She had a little bit of English, I had a little bit of German, and we could do charades. And so it was interesting to visit with her. And then right across the square from in the cathedral area was a McDonald's. And so we went to McDonald's in Germany. And I think the one thing I learned, because when I first enlisted, I only planned for the first 6 years. And so because I had 2 children in that time frame, because I now have 3, I didn't get all the points for 1 year because I didn't attend drill, and I think I missed AIT because of having a baby. But there are different ways of getting the points. I'm not sure if it's still the same, but you needed 75 points in a year called good years towards retirement. So I missed one of my years of having that. But if I had been smart enough, I could have taken correspondence courses or some other training to get the points. And then I would have, so I had to go more than 20 years to get retirement. I wasn't planning on retirement in that first enlistment. I did re-enlist. One reason was because they had a re-enlistment bonus that I qualified for, so I re-enlisted. And I just kept going. I enjoyed what we did. Yeah, there was some hard times here and there, but as an overall thing, I think I'm not ashamed of being in the military. I think it's got some, it can be very helpful. Well, there's one of them, too, that talking about being a woman in the military. And in the reserve unit, like I said, I had no trouble coming in there and being the only woman most of the time. The Guard in Boone had reorganized, and some of the members transferred to our unit. And I could see they had trouble accepting a female in the unit because they hadn't had any in their unit. But my choice of thinking on that was that's their problem, not mine, because I have no problem being here. I can uphold my end of the job, and they better learn theirs. So I guess that's kind of the way I've been. When we transferred to the Guard, we did a military medical battalion, so there are more women in there than that we had in the reserves. There were times when we went to Fort Drum, New York, for annual training 1 year, and we flew out there, and here I am with 20 some guys, and there was 2 other gals that went, but they drove out. I flew with these guys, so it was kind of, I feel like I'm in with this crowd of guys, but it didn't bother me any because I knew all of them and everything. I went to training down at professional education course down in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was for supply sergeants, and it was one of their first ones that they had. And the barracks down there were they were single bedrooms, but they were joint. There was 2 rooms that shared a bathroom in between, and so men and women were on the floor, same floor and everything. And my first night there, some of the men, when I walked by their room, they had their doors open, and there were some not appropriate comments made. I ignored it because I figured that's their problem. Well, I get to classroom, and I'm the only woman in with 20-some guys again. But I was used to that, so it didn't bother me. And as they got to know me, it was much better. They decided I wasn't there to be any better than anybody else, but I was there to learn and to be myself. And we weren't supposed to, but and people did it anyway, gathered in the hallways and around rooms at night, socialize. And sometimes their talks would get more than I wanted, but I says, if I ever leave you, it's just because I don't want to be here anymore. I'll go back to my room, I'll read a book, I'm fine. But I'm not going to sit here and be critical of somebody else. It's me. I just told them that was my choice to do. So I did it. So they could take it. So anyway, I got along with the majority of them, and it was good 2 weeks. And even if you're not intending to retire, make sure you do everything you need to do to get those points, so that if you end up going more than you planned on it, it doesn't take you 21 years to get 20 years for retirement. So that would be one of my, do your best, do what you need to do, make sure you know what it takes. And because you don't know what your future is going to bring you. It wouldn't have taken much that 1 year to have had enough, but nobody gave it a thought. So that's what I would tell young people when they got in. I says, do your best, because you don't know if how that's going to help you in the future. So it can lead to things you don't know. You get to know people. It could lead to a civilian job because you met somebody in the Guard or Reserves. Military, the skills that you can get from it. And if you've done a good job, it can be a good recommendation for you if you can learn your skills and you can do them. And